time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier and Chris Martineau. On this week's episode, number 35, Jay, Chris, and their special guest, well, that would be me, review the 1981 NBC Friday night movie special, Halloween, The Night He Came Home, featuring Michael Myers.
Shall we?
No, not that Michael Myers. Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Film Crickets. I am co-host Chris Martineau, along with my lifelong friend,
Jay Fortier.
Hey, Jay, what's happening today?
Not much, man.
Oh,
I just lost
fantastic.
the video, but,
excellent. We also have our third man in the booth today. We got Steve Lavoie. Say hello, Steve.
Hey, what's going on? Is that a booth or a penalty box?
We'll go either way you want to look at it. I can dig it. He's in the box today, folks. God, Steve Lavoie's in the box. But anyway, so this is the Film Crickets, and if you've listened to our show before, the general idea is that we look at movies from 1980 to 1999, and we watch them again either for the first time or maybe for the first time in a long time, or maybe it's a fan favorite of ours. But we look at it and we decide whether or not it holds up to the test of time. Jay and Steve approached me the other week and said we want to do one for the here. Happy Memorial Day, everybody! I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but to my co-hosts here today, Happy Memorial Day. It's been so nice outside. It's been so nice outside. I'm sure we're all grilling in the 40 degrees and rain. But when you guys approached me to do this, they said you wanted to do. We're stretching it a little bit because we rewatched 1978 Halloween by John Carpenter. Under the umbrella that in 1978 Halloween was a nutty success. At the time was the most profitable low budget horror movie ever until Blair Witch Project came along, and right after it was a mega hit, NBC bought the rights to it because they wanted to put it on TV, and they didn't do that until 1981. So it was broadcast on TV in 1981, and so it kind of fit under that umbrella. And I was so psyched to do a horror movie that I'm in. We haven't done a horror movie, I think, since Arachnophobia.
No, Changeling.
Oh yeah, Changeling. I forgot about Changeling. Right, around the same time, 1980. Right. So the movie for today is Halloween. So when was the last time any of you watched this movie? I'll start with you, Jay.
Okay. Well, first off, another aspect. It's not just because it aired on TV, but it was they actually took the crew and John Carpenter. They filmed extra footage, about 12 minutes of extra footage with the crew from Halloween 2. They made that specifically for the TV version of Halloween. Technically, this version with the extra footage is a 1981 film. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't happen without that. So technically, we still fall under that 80 to 99 umbrella. It's also a loophole that we chose to use because we wanted to use it, right? But how often do we really pick the film for ourselves? Very rare.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So and I know Steve. I will answer your question in a second. I know Steve has a funny story about his origin of being introduced to this. I have a story. It's not quite as funny, but it's really this movie means a lot to me from growing up. So I would say probably, I don't know, like 5 years probably since I've seen it in full, maybe a little longer. Though I've seen it so often in my life that it's kind of burned in there, in the brain. Now, I would say before either of us get to our stories, I would actually like to ask you, Chris, if you wouldn't mind. Well, after you do the rundown of what it's all about from the IMDb, but maybe like how this entered your life, like if this meant anything to you at all growing up.
All right, great. I'm into that. All right, so let's like Jay asked. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go through the old IMDb. Let's see what the general description of this movie is. Give you a little background on it in case you never heard of this silly little movie called Halloween. So anyway, Halloween, 1978, but 1981 for the purposes of today. directed by a fan favorite of mine, John Carpenter. Again, I showed it before. I have a whole book of John Carpenter's work where he's interviewed and goes through all of his movies. It's coming in at a brisk 1 hour and 31 minutes. It said directed by John Carpenter, written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, starring Donald Pleasance, introducing Jamie Lee Curtis, Tony Moran, and the general idea is 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night in 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to a small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again. And I can't wait to talk about where this mental hospital actually is in relative to Haddonfield. So that's the deal. So you asked me about where this sits in my heart, and I would say that I have not seen this movie in quite some time. Every year that it's on, I kind of skip over it, to be honest, mainly because it's one of those things like, I saw it once, I know all about it. How many times do I need to watch it again? So I it's almost like it's a Carpenter bias. I know it's awesome. I don't need to watch it. I'm going to focus on The Thing and The Fog and Big Trouble in Little China and even Ghosts of Mars and all of his other movies that nobody saw. Prince of Darkness, one of my personal favorites, right? So I don't revisit this one very much because I know the lore. I know without Halloween, there isn't a Friday the 13th, even though that really minimizes what Halloween actually is as a movie when you compare it to Jason Voorhees. Sure. All I know is, you asked me about where it was when I was younger. All I know is that opening scene where you just see a pumpkin and it comes in slowly on you and the opening credits. I just remember, like, as a kid, you saw that coming on the TV or my grandmother's pirated copies of it or whatever. And it is two things. A, I know it's Halloween, so it's it's an awesome time of year because it's the fall and I like Halloween, I like candy. And then next thing you know, it's going to be Christmas. So you get that feeling of awesome. And then because that pumpkin's coming in so slow and you hear that 5/4, da-da-dun-da-dun-dun-da-dun-dun, you know you're in for a ride. You know it's going to be spooky from go. They're not going to wait, which they don't. And that's all I remember. So I think it's just a matter of of that classic Halloween spirit that I like. I don't like cutesy Halloween. I don't like Halloween where you dress up like a cowboy or a princess or a wizard. That's bullshit. I want to see something scary. I'm not into that. I want scary. I know. Oh, right. Great. You're a princess. Wonderful. Can be like a undead princess or some shit. So no, I was, you know what I mean?
I can picture you.
Throw this ketchup all over you. Yeah.
But I like the idea of you opening the door.
Yep.
Kids to yell trick or treat. You look around, nobody's scary. You go, this is bullshit, and you just shut the door.
I want to see some
Nobody
gore,
gets
kids.
anything.
So anyway, right. So it can't be any more pure. I mean, how stupid is it? I mean, the original title of this movie was The Babysitter Diaries or some.
Well,
murders.
The babysitter
murders, right? That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
So the fact that it oozes the Halloween that I want from way back in the day sets the tone of Halloween for the rest of my life. So yes, nice. That's it. So thank you for asking me that question.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'll go second. I think I do like Steve's story, so I think that's a funnier version of. Now this particular airing, which was October 30th, 1981, was the first time I saw it. I saw it on NBC. All right. It was me and my two brothers. And here's the weird part. Before I even get to the film itself, it was aired on that night, which was the launch date for Halloween 2. And it actually hurt some of the sales for Halloween 2 because people hadn't seen Halloween 1. Not everybody. You know what I mean? There were people who hadn't or just liked it a lot. So they stayed home that night to watch Halloween. This was prior to the days of DVRs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you sat down and watched stuff. We've talked about this before. And, so that actually was, first off, I think it's mind-boggling. Don't both of you, that the Peacock, NBC, home of Cheers and Seinfeld and Friends and all these things, bought a slasher film to put it on. I mean, it's just...
I mean, even though you put the disclaimer on it, it's still a slasher film. It doesn't matter what you say about it to warn people. It's still something you wouldn't expect.
No, not in this day and age. Looking back, like, wow, they aired a slasher. No kidding. And of course, the slashers weren't flying out onto the video stores as much as later on in the 80s at the time. So like this was more of a novelty, but still it was like not a typical type of film that you would see on NBC. So that's pretty amazing. And so we had sat down, we were home alone for the night. My parents were out somewhere for the evening, and we watched it. And I got to tell you, it really is a very good memory for me. Because it was kind of like my first real horror movie. Like, I've seen, I'd seen little stuff on Saturday afternoon, Creature Double Feature, it wasn't just Godzilla. They showed but I'm saying it's stuff from the 60s and the 50s. It was all right, but I was into it, but it wasn't like this. And this is kind of what I was hoping for. And I was like, I want to say 8 or 9 at the most. Okay, so maybe 9 at the most.
Now, Jay, I just want to say one thing. You tell me this story and that your parents were gone, and you almost fit exactly into the other parents in this film.
Yeah, right.
Like, did none of the parents stay home at Halloween? Like in the film, there are no parents in any of these houses. They've all had some sort of party or date to go to. So when you tell your story, I just start laughing, going, it just reminds me of the movie itself.
And also, where are these parents going? Like, where are they? Like, aren't you supposed to do stuff with? They left their little kids at home alone on Halloween.
Ours was October 30th. So
I know
it didn't quite count. Like, people weren't coming to our door trick or treating. We weren't missing out on trick or treating. So in that sense,
that's true.
And to be honest with you, I really don't know the next night. I have no, none of that rings a bell at all. Just the night before, October 30th means a lot more. My brothers are both older, and I remember it was basically my brother George especially doing commentary throughout, wow, that was cool or whatever, that made me feel more secure and safe. I'm like I said, I'm only 8 or 9, and you get this slasher movie, and it's pretty scary, especially the music, the soundtrack. My God, is it brilliant. Thank you, John Carpenter. Oh my God, he wrote such amazing music. And it's not just the opening theme. The opening theme is perfect. It's iconic, but there's other stuff.
No, the atmospheric music in this is out of control. Because if you watch this movie, I know you're still in your story, but if you watch this movie and you try to think about the scenes without the music, boy, is it boring. Boy, is it boring.
Right.
Like, it's not a good movie. Like, it could be not a good movie. So it's all right, yeah.
Right. Well, I know what you mean. The theme makes it even better, 10 times better.
Yep.
The ultimate, when I still felt nervous and scared when I was done, the movie's done. But it also, I look at it, I've always looked at horror since then as comparison to the roller coaster. I know, Chris, you're not a huge fan of roller coasters, but you get my point.
Yes.
It's a place where you can feel on the edge of oh my God, we're gonna die, but then all of a sudden you come back and you land in the place and you're safe. So that's why I like that adrenaline rush and where it brings you. And it's ever since then, it's just been an addiction. I don't need it every week. I don't watch horror every week, but it is something I treat as something special.
Sure.
But, Steve, let's go to you about when this entered your life.
Well, I guess my story is more of that big 80s story where it's technology. We all got VCRs at some point, and I think we got our first one probably around the mid 80s, maybe 84, 85-ish. We got our VCR player, and my parents had gotten divorced at that time. I was a little bit younger when it showed on TV, so I didn't catch it on TV. And I don't think my brother had caught it. My brother's about your age, Jay, and I don't think he caught it either. But we were going through the video store for one of the first times. Wow, check this out! And we're going through this different sections, and the tapes are all lined
up. What a great
up.
feeling!
And it was I'd love to go back to those days. But so it's funny because all these movies I didn't know what the hell they were because I was too young when they came out to the theaters. So it was like the first time I've ever seen all of this all at once. So yeah, so so my brother and I are walking through the video store, and we come across the horror section, and all of the, I mean, they've got the tapes out there so you can see the covers, and they're all really cool. But we came across the Halloween. You got the pumpkin kind of head, like a scary looking pumpkin head, and he's holding a knife. And we're like, wow, look at this. Now, I'm young. My brother's a little older. Like I said, I'm probably 6 or 7. My brother's probably 10, 11 years old. And we're like, hey, let's get Dad to rent this. And so we brought it to my father. My father, a bit crazy. And so he looks at us and he says, would your mother rent this? Would she be approve of this? Well, like, hell no. And he goes, great, let's get it. So, I mean, it was this custody battle, not really custody, but he wanted to be the cool parent. And so he's like, oh, absolutely. He didn't care what rating it was. Let's get it. And like, well, we're going to have something to eat too. So we went over and we got the cheese in a can. It comes out with a little nozzle. Looks like the Play-Doh Fun Factory. And you put it on crackers, and oh yeah, so that was our dinner after McDonald's, and it was my God, it was like whatever. Oh yeah, it was it was like whatever bad you could do with your kids, that was it. So didn't you also we were able to watch the film.
Didn't you also say there was like microwave popcorn with sour cream and onion flavoring or something on it?
Yeah, we tried. Yeah, we found one like sour cream and onion microwave popcorn because it was like all he had was a microwave. It was like a little studio apartment, and we got that, and we got a couple 2 liters of Coke, and it was like this is great. This is awesome. Now I don't think I was ready for Halloween. It was like it's one thing to see the cover, but then when the music starts playing and all that, it's like, wow. We're just like glued to the TV going, what are we watching? It was, so that was my story. And it didn't stop there because it was like the next week was like, oh wow, they had a Halloween 2?
Yeah.
We got to rent that, like whatever. Yeah. Whatever was bad, he would get it for us, and so he has since passed on, so it's okay for me to tell all these stories. He won't get in trouble.
And that was the weekend that we all rented Cannibal Corpse. All right.
Yeah.
No, Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah.
I love horror, but I have no desire to see that.
You got to see the cut without them torturing the animals. It's not that bad.
Okay.
But anyhow, that's awesome, Steve.
That's exactly why I don't want to see it. I'm like, they really kill animals in that.
Yep.
But I did my research leading up to this, and I did do a lot of research online. Watched it on YouTube, by the way. Again,
oh my God!
And but not in 72 different parts this time. No, it was actually the full movie.
Oh, good.
It was awesome. But I was reading the comments, and here I'm thinking I'm one of these deranged kids at 6 years old watching this thing. But it seems like a lot of kids. Under 10 watched this movie.
Sure.
It was I couldn't believe how many young kids have actually watched this movie at a young age.
Honestly, I think it's a pretty good starter pack. If you can watch the edit without the 2 quote unquote naked women in it, which is like 9 seconds. It's not even gratuitous like Friday the 13th. Like, you really shouldn't start them on Friday the 13th.
But it wasn't scrambled.
No, it was not scrambled, right? You don't have to go to put the TV on channel 2 and the cable box on this. No, but
it was quick, but it was clear. Yeah.
No, it was easily pausable if you needed to pause and stare. But no, it's a good starter pack because it is creepy. It's creepy for no reason. It's got subtext where you don't even know it's there. And I will hopefully talk about it later, why they say without this movie there's no Friday the 13th, but I think that does this movie a disservice, actually. I think there's a lot more going on than Friday the 13th. But not that I like Friday the 13th, but it's not the same thing. And even though the character, Jason is a better character, this is a better movie. But anyway, so that's cool. So we've all have our connection somehow that this is kind of our starter. Right? Mm-hmm. Is it fair to say it's our horror movie starter? I'm not sure if I saw Jaws first. I think I probably saw Jaws first.
I would say, Jaws is scary, and you could easily put it in the horror section, but it also has a fun camp aspect, not camp like camping, but campy, a popcorn vibe to it. Where it's more of a blockbuster aimed at the masses.
Yep.
This was a low budget, straight up horror.
Yep.
Not necessarily aimed at the masses. However, the masses picked up on it. And I want to say, I believe why, besides the fact that word of mouth tells everybody it's phenomenal, go see it. I think what I love so much, I mean, you can throw Friday the 13th in as well. I think everybody that's talking right now and listening, I imagine, knows what it's like to be home alone or home with just your siblings or something, for a little while, or, to not have the parents around. So maybe we didn't babysit, or maybe you did, but it's and by the way, on top of that, an atmosphere of something we all love, Halloween, growing up. It's an atmosphere that we enjoy. We're very familiar with it. You see it, you see the goblins and ghosts and witches or whatever, and you're instantly going, whoa, that's, you're right there. So you've experienced that before. So it's not hard to identify with the setting. Same with Friday the 13th, real quick. I may have never been to sleepaway camp, but I've been to a camp. I've been to camp, with my parents or whatever, or, you've been outside, in the woods before with your friends. You understand the vibe. You get it. It's summer. It's relatable. So those settings are relatable, not the maniac that's running around that's possibly undead. No, but the foundation is relatable.
Right.
And what they throw at you is
well, I mean,
the terror.
I didn't know anything about, the insane asylum. You know what I mean? Like, to me, at that age, I was probably watching it going, oh, look, they're trick-or-treating. Well, I can relate to that. Right. I know about trick-or-treating at 6 or 7. I know he's a kind of a bad guy and he had problems. And obviously, you know about spooky things as a kid. And they, even in the movie, they called him the boogeyman. So, I mean, that was relatable.
Yep. I would say what's interesting, if you want to bring it up, is that Haddonfield, Illinois, where they shot this, and I don't know where, I forget where he actually shot. I can look it up, but
Pasadena, I think.
Pasadena,
right? So
yeah, Pasadena, California.
So even if we relate to the trick or treating and the small town aspect because we're from small towns. So when you look at Haddonfield and you see the small neighborhoods, you're like, oh, I know what that's like to walk around those small neighborhoods. Or you're from the city and you've never been in a small neighborhood, and it just makes it that much more out of place. Like you actually are a little nervous because everything is so wide open, right? Everything in this movie is so wide open, and it's one of the contextual things I want to talk about this movie is that one of the things that the whole movie is set up to make you uneasy from the start, right? This movie doesn't wait. It's right away, naked people getting stabbed, and it's a boy killing everybody. So Mike Myers kills his sister because a lot of people say because he catches her having sex, but I think he's just crazy. I think she would have just been sitting there anyway. But
he's just a sociopath.
Yeah, just crazy, right? So more on that later. But what I like about this movie, and for what you're saying, is it gives us a moment to be comfortable with Halloween, right? We look at Haddonfield, it's a wide open area. And as the movie goes along, the sets get smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually you're in a closet. So, I mean, that's the idea behind it's trying to make you uncomfortable from the get-go, which is kind of like it lures you in with Halloween, it being a kid's holiday. We see, by the way, why were kids trick-or-treating during the day before?
It's crazy.
What was the deal with that?
Yeah, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Like at the day, on the 30th, though.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No one works.
I know.
No, it wasn't the 30th. It wasn't the 30th.
Was it the 30th?
Well, was it the 31st?
Yeah, because
I think it was the 31st, but
they go home.
Yeah, but it was.
And then get ready for to go out to babysit that night.
All right.
But still, there's a few things. So it's weird. It's early.
Yeah, it's early.
Yeah, no. It's. I mean, the sun is just beaming down.
I know.
That made no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Yeah, when they're passing out home fries and stuff and pancakes, I mean that's a little early for trick or treat.
The little cereal boxes, the little tiny. Remember the little tiny cereal boxes you used to get? But yeah, and think about it. Like the movie starts with Haddonfield, and then the insane asylum, is 150 miles away, and it just keeps getting smaller, and smaller and smaller. So let's talk about Mike Myers. Let's talk about Mike Myers real quick as a person, and let's talk about him as like a symbol, kind of, right? So first of all, he kills his sister because he's crazy.
When he's 6.
When he's 6, right? So he goes away for 15 years. That was in 1963. 1978, he escapes from the asylum. And what's the first thing he does? He steals a car.
When he escapes?
He drives.
He takes a car, yeah.
When did we learn to drive? I thought we were catatonic for 15 years. Where did we learn to drive? Right. Now, gentlemen, again, I've already told you I love this movie, and Jay knows me for one. I will pick apart a movie just because. I get it. It's movie logic,
style.
But it makes me laugh. Like, it makes me laugh. Not only has he not learned how to drive, he steals a car and drives how far?
100 and something miles, yeah.
150 miles, yeah, 150
miles. Yeah. Never having driven a car before.
And also,
that is hysterical.
And let's look at 1970. Well, in 1978, probably most of your cars were probably still standard at that point too. So, so he got lucky to just steal a car that was an automatic.
That's true. Yep. With that,
yeah,
on the
he
side.
Steals one that's a stick shift and goes. It's all right. I'll kill them while I learn to drive. I'll just murder them while I learn to drive.
He's driving as slow as he walks. Yeah. No, he just drives as slow as he walks.
Well, then,
but he still catches up with everyone.
In that case, he'll be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. There he is. And talk about being conspicuous. Like, it's the car that has the symbol, like some state symbol on the side of it, just sticking out like a sore thumb.
Right.
And he trolls the high school girls in the car, like real slow.
Right.
Like, what is that about? Like, how is that intimidating?
While we're
go ahead.
Well, while we're on the car, before I forget, someone actually owns that car now. I was reading this blog, and actually there's a whole blog and a page on the car alone. I guess there's like IMDb cars. There's a whole thing about like well-known cars that have been in films, and someone bought the car. So they rented the car, that tan station wagon. They rented that for 2 weeks for the filming. It was a lease, and then somebody bought it, put it in like a barn, and then someone else bought it off of there. They found it and they restored it. Now, if you're gonna restore a movie car, would you go after something maybe a little more like, hey, I got Kit, I've from Knight Rider, I've got the General Lee, I've got I've got the Yellow Bug and Footloose. Hey, I've got frickin' Airwolf, like something like that. Like, why would you? Hey, listen, guys, you want to come over, have a few beers? I have that shit brown car from Halloween, the station wagon.
Does it?
Come on over. We can all get in it. It seats like 50. It's like we can all go to the mall with it.
If it's a station wagon, was it a station wagon? Could they go get groceries with it? That's all we want to know. Can I go to the supermarket on Halloween, get apples, get needles, get marshmallow, get arsenic, and then come back home? I mean, that's really all we're asking. That's all we're asking. Rat poison, apples, pins, and marshmallows. Honestly.
Last night, I saw something for the first time, and I had not heard this, but there's a lot of trivia out there, and I'm sure we don't have to cover all the trivia. Like, a lot of people know by now. If they haven't seen it, then we'll tell you real quick. It's William Shatner mask, Captain Kirk, that was painted white and cut. The eye holes were cut, and like the hair, like the eyebrows are gone. They took some stuff and messed it up a little bit, and they turned it into the most iconic symbol. So great. But what I noticed for the first time last night, I had never heard this before. When he's terrorizing the nurse that's still in the car. Because Dr. Loomis arrives with her at the insane asylum. He gets out because he notices everybody, walking around in their in the middle of a thunderstorm at night in their hospital gowns, and So he climbs up onto the roof, and like he grabs her face, and then all of a sudden he, reaches down with his hand and breaks the window where she's, on the passenger side. I had never seen this before. You can always like slow it down or whatever. There is a wrench on the side of his, like basically he's palming a wrench.
Oh, all right.
Like a little, and then he smashes the window. Like it's sort of dark and blends in, but if you look at it, it makes it easier for him to smash the window, because when he smashes the window, it's his palm that does it, and it's like, well, we gotta make it a little
first,
easier.
yeah.
We gotta make it easier for this actor to, break the window with his palm. So he's got this wrench that's not very conspicuous. I just thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, look at this.
Yep. Well,
I never noticed that until last night.
He does other miracle things like stab someone through the chest, plant them in the wall, and then this is at the end of the movie, and he's suspending a guy with a knife, and there's about 5 inches of the knife still showing. So there's a knife goes through a regularly width person, sticks in the wall enough to suspend a person on a wall with still a bunch of knives. You need a saber about yay big. Like you need like a Jason Voorhees spear in order to get somebody in the wall. So he's got
how great is the art admiration though after that?
Oh yes, he looks at the
Yeah.
He tilts his head like admiring art. It was beautiful.
Almost like a
like
the
direction
like a dog
there.
or something. Yeah,
but that's John
or
Carpenter.
like a dog.
Actually,
A dog would kind of look at you, kind of.
Carpenter told Nick Castle, the guy who is the Shape, they call him the Shape, right? And he asked him, well, I'm crazy, so how do you want me to act? Because he's saying I should like go, like act all like friggin' nuts. And he said, no, like you actually, as a character, I want you to do your deeds and then admire it like you didn't do it, like a dog, like it's art or like a dog. So he actually wants you to, like stab. Wow, look what I just did. That's amazing. Because he's that far removed. So that's a really cool observation, that he didn't want him to act all lunatic. And he just wanted to be the Shape, that is suddenly there, and it's suddenly not there, and it's suddenly
By
there.
the way, I heard it. It's not Nick Castle, I heard, when the mask is ripped off.
No, it's not. I don't know who it is.
No.
Yeah. And
What
I
a weird
forgot,
moment.
by the way,
Yeah.
I forgot they unmasked him. Because I haven't seen this in a long time.
Right before he gets shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa! I was actually taken
yeah.
aback by that, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah.
Why is what's really great about the movie is that he's nuts. Obviously, he's a sociopath, and Donald Pleasance, who the only best actor who is allowed to overact, like he is just way over the top most of the time. He's worse than Halloween 2, but he's way. Like that's him most of the time when he's freaking out. But he says that Michael's just evil and that he's playing all of you. He's not catatonic. He's waiting for his chance and he's going to get out. And what I find funny is that there is no reason for Michael Myers to be crazy. Because look at Haddonfield. Why would anyone go crazy in Haddonfield? It's really nice there. The property values are great. You know what I mean? Like
the people who are born that way, though, like they're just sick.
But that's my point, is that a lot of times, like something happened or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's like there's no in Friday the 13th, all the parents did something wrong. That's why Freddy comes back, right? With Jason, mom's
Jason.
What?
You said in Friday the 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Freddy.
Freddy.
The F came out. Sorry, my bad. So in with Freddy, all the parents did something wrong. Friday the 13th, we have, I mean, granted the teacher is doing something wrong, but that's because mom is crazy. And Friday the 13th, mom's the crazy one, and then they turned it into something else. And so we have this inherently thing, but we don't know why this little boy is crazy. This is one of those things that I always talk about with people. And hold on, is that every sociopath, every crazy, deranged lunatic that rapes and pillages and is just nuts. At one point, they were 5, and they had a birthday party with balloons and candles and cake, and then something went wrong, right? That's what makes we're not blaming them, but something went wrong. But this kid, it's like Pleasance is like, no, he's just evil. He is a force to be reckoned with. He is fate. He comes in like nature, like he's almost demonic, but he's not. even though he's kind of is, but he's kind of not. It's so great that they leave it up in the air. Sorry, Jay, you keep wanting to say something.
No, sorry. Let Steve. He was about to talk.
Steve, go.
Well, so it's funny you say that, because I went back and I watched this film and I said, I liked the way Rob Zombie had Halloween. He redid Halloween. And I went back and I watched the interview with John Carpenter, and they asked him about what did he think of Rob Zombie's version. And he doesn't sound like he's a big fan of Rob Zombie, but he also said he didn't like. Now, I love the fact Zombie came out, I think it was 07-ish or something like that. He came out with the Halloween remake. And I loved the fact he spends about 40 minutes into the film showing how he gets there. Now, he made it up because in 1981 or in 78, they never told us anything really about the child's history, except that we see him kill his sister. And I thought Zombie did a great job. Carpenter said he didn't like that. He said, I don't care how he got there. He's there. This is him. We don't care. I think that, maybe that's that whole stand up to the test of time thing where nowadays we need to know why it happened. We are more into history as human beings going, how did this happen? We have to correct this. And I think so we need to know this. We need that lead up. And I think Zombie covered that pretty well.
I like your point. Jay, go.
No, go ahead. No.
Okay. So I like your point because
stay with that.
Oh, that's cool. Because when we see Jamie Lee Curtis in high school, and by the way, the shape Michael Myers keeps popping up around schools. Like, what? Where are the police? Like, he's trolling schools, and no one notices there's a man in a jumpsuit with a mask looking through school windows. So, but we see she's in English class, and they're talking about some story, I don't know what. And the point of the story is the idea of fate, that you cannot avoid fate. Like, if you listen to the lecture in the high school thing, and she's looking out the window, she sees Michael Myers, and then Jamie Lee Curtis has to give her definition of fate as it goes with the story that they're studying in English class. And to me, Michael Myers, and I can see why John Carpenter doesn't like the zombie version, is Michael Myers is fate. He is a force of nature. He doesn't need a reason. He's there, and he comes in like the weather. He comes in like a storm. Jason Voorhees does the same thing. He's always associated with bad weather. So we don't need to know we don't need to know where he comes from. He's a force of nature. Now, to your point, Steve, I would say, yeah, in modern days, we do want that backstory. But to me, maybe I'm going to tip my hand, in the 70s, we didn't need it. And now we do. And that's why it's refreshing to see it again, because if it's done well, we don't need to know. If it's done well. If it's not done well, it's garbage. You're like, where'd this come from? But it's all aesthetics. Like Carpenter's Halloween is all aesthetics and feeling and like atmosphere. It's all atmosphere. So it doesn't matter. So I agree where you're coming from. And maybe that's why we like it still, because we don't need it. Like, we keep getting it. Now maybe let's have a movie where we don't get it. Right? Jake, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but I guess, aren't there some cases of sociopaths where the kids have zero remorse or anything, like just because there's a disconnect? Not because something traumatic happened, but because there's just something there that, whatever the path would take to emotion.
Sure. Oh yeah.
That does not take that path in the brain. So
yeah.
So like, does something terrible have to happen for this person to have like just this ability to, I don't care, I'm gonna kill her because he's just crazy?
Yeah. I would say that's the interesting part. Like, let's talk about, so horror movies up to this point, and I don't know enough of the history year to year horror movies, but I would say a lot of horror movies are monster movies. You're coming out of the Universal monsters, or the monster is inherently evil, like Dracula, or something like that. I know there are other slasher. This can't be the first.
Norman
slasher.
Bates.
Norman Bates. Yeah. Okay. So something's got to be wrong. So I don't know. I see where you're coming from with that. I think it's the first time we see a human, like you said, a human sociopath that has no emotional connection to anything, but still wants to kill, right? Which is kind of interesting. But he also takes on almost my point from before, I didn't quite get to it, I don't think, is that while he's human, he's a force of nature, so he's kind of supernatural. Even though he's not, he can still take a needle to the neck, a couple of stab wounds
He took
to the
6
chest.
bullets.
It took 6 bullets, so he is a force of nature. He is a kind of reckoning that has been come upon Haddonfield, which gives you the argument about, Jason in the Friday the 13th movies is a punisher, right? He's going to punish the kids that fornicate. He's going to punish the kids that have sex because they deserve it because they're bad kids. That's Jason's modus operandi, right? Or they don't say it, but that's kind of what happens.
It also happens in here because, yes, he goes after the innocent one.
Yep.
And doesn't succeed.
Right. That's true.
Like he kills the 2 that fornicate.
Yeah.
Or gonna fornicate.
Well, I think that he's like a bad dog that, most dogs can understand when you say stop or, cut it out. He's that dog that you just couldn't train. And so there was times where I think, and if you watch the other Halloween films, there were a couple times where she would say Michael or something, and he would snap out of it for like 2 seconds and look like, oh, what am I doing? But then he would go right back into what he was going to do. And I think Zombie actually, in his Halloween film, not to bring it back there all the time, but there's a character that made friends, kind of. He was really nice to Michael Myers, and Michael Myers just kills him like nothing. And this guy was nothing but nice to him. So I think he was trying to show that Michael Myers doesn't care. You can't make friends with a guy like this guy.
I think of that. You guys have brought up a couple of times with a director and writer, Mick Garris, and he has a podcast too. He's a horror podcast, but he directed the TV movie for The Stand, and he directed, unfortunately, he wrote Hocus Pocus. So he's in the industry, and he's in horror, and he said he would do research, and he would go to prisons to people that, like, on death row or whatever, or maximum security, just to see, like, the inner psyche of a murderer and a terrible person. And they would say, people would ask him, like, how can they sleep at night? And his answer to that is always, they sleep very well because they have no sensation of what they did was wrong. They sleep just fine, which is really, so to your point with Michael Myers' friend, like he has no, and to Jay's point earlier too, like he has no connection to like why this is wrong. So I got to ask you guys, and then I want to get in some of the nuttier parts of this movie, but do you think, and this is, I've seen this a couple of times, do you think Michael Myers is punishing the women of this film and the men of this film, not just women, but the men and women of this film? Well, the focus is the women. I think, right? Is he punishing them? Is he targeting them?
No, I think that comes out. I think that is just a byproduct of what we're dealing with. Because he focused on Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, and the little boy, because basically they were the first to walk up to his house. He was in his house at the beginning.
Yep.
When he made it to Haddonfield, and I think he just says, "Oh yeah, I'm focusing on these two."
Right.
So he obsessed over them. I know the deleted scene, one of the deleted scenes, or the made-for-movie TV scenes, had a thing where the nurse opens a door and he carved the word sister, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily Laurie. I know that got woven into the storyline at one point, like in the later films. It might have even been the second movie. All I'm saying is that, like, he could have meant, I'm going back to where my sister was, type of thing. So we don't know. So I would say they're just there.
Yeah.
And because he would have absolutely killed the two kids and Laurie Strode if he could have. So they didn't do anything wrong, sex-wise, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
see, now, I see, and we were just talking, and I now listening to your podcast, because I'm a big fan of the podcast as well, and I listened to and I never would have, when I watched movies, I didn't think this way, but I have to thank Chris. He kind of brought something to light for me. So when he says sloppy writing or poor writing, so for me, when I saw the Halloween, and then I went back and saw it as an adult, and then I went back and saw Zombies version, I thought John Carpenter had kind of poor, sloppy writing, because he didn't tell me why the hell why it all came to this. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it was like thrown together, and here we go, let's start killing. and it's more killing towards the end, but and even with this, we're talking about the 1981 NBC version, which those 12 minutes extra scenes were added in 1981, and I think some of those scenes, like the one where Dr. Loomis is in there talking to the psychiatrist, begging them to put him in a maximum state prison and not the minimum. That was not in the original 78. So I think that they were trying to paint a picture. In fact, when he says you fooled him, Michael, I don't think that's not in 78. That's in the 81 version, correct?
It's only in the 81, yeah.
And I thought that was a huge, huge scene where he says, I know you're evil and I know what you're all about. And they didn't put that in the 78. So again, they didn't really show a lot of the beginnings in the original movie. I thought they were trying to maybe play catch up a little bit in 81 in NBC. I think they went back and went, maybe we can add a few things to show a little more about how we got here. I don't know. That was just my thought.
I will say to that, I agree with you. It is a little sloppy. Again, I'm gonna counter this book again, the John Carpenter on Carpenter book. And they talk about, because I read it right before we came in, and they talk about the added minutes, where they kind of tie in. First of all, the scenes are in the mental hospital. He goes to see Michael Myers in his room, and there's one with Laurie talking about wearing a sweater, which is nonsense. But he actually says in his book, and I'm paraphrasing that, they strung in some stuff together so he could make it 2 hours on a TV screen because it wouldn't have fit with the commercials. So that's why they added the time. But he calls those scenes bullshit. Now, that's funny because you think, and I agree, that those scenes actually give some context to the background of Michael Myers. But John Carpenter says, I don't want those scenes. That's nonsense. So to him, is it sloppy writing? I think it's lazy. Right? A little bit. I'm not bagging on Halloween. Could he have done more character development? Sure. But I think from the get-go, Carpenter, and this is why I think it's a nutty hit back in the day, he's just going for scares. He's just trying to make people uncomfortable from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, and the logic in between doesn't matter to him. He just wants you on the edge of your seat. He wants you invested because he set up the atmosphere and you're going to buy it whether or not it makes sense or not. Just like the scuba tank exploding at the end of Jaws. It's not going to do that, but whatever. And there's so many, how many things in this movie, let's talk about the things that don't make sense. Just, again, from sloppy writing, right? Or maybe I don't care about that part. I just want to get the atmosphere. How many cheap jump scares are in this movie? They're just cheap.
Not a lot.
I don't know. There was, all right, maybe not a lot, but the jump scares that are in it are ridiculous. And I'm going to explain you why.
Got Laurie, are you referring to the dad bumping into the cop?
Yeah, the dad bumping, and then you have the sting, the bing, right? But there's other times where Laurie's walking down the sidewalk. I know it worked. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I'm saying he's just going for the scares. We don't need all that other stuff. Sure. So there's one point where Laurie's walking down.
Right, she saw him, and then
and then she turns.
Yeah, with the bushes. Yeah. So you're talking about the scene with the bushes.
And then she turns around and backs up, and then suddenly there's a guy there. Where you didn't see him down the sidewalk? Donald Pleasance at one point is staked out incorrectly the old Myers home, thinking he'd come back. So he's sitting in the bushes all night, trolling people that are coming by. Remember when he scares the kid and he gets glee out of scaring the kid? It's just some weirdo, it's an old man in the bushes scaring me. Anyway, but he's staking out the Meyer home, and then suddenly he looks across the street and the brown car is there. He didn't notice a brown car roll up and a man in a blue jumpsuit and a white mask get out of it and walk slowly. And how do you stake that out? Because when you see the brown car, you get scared because you're in it at that point. You're scared at that point. You're waiting for something to happen. Well, Carpenter has set you up, so he doesn't give a shit about the other stuff. Does that make it a good movie? I don't know. Maybe it makes it a piss poor movie. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it resonated with a bunch of people. I'll shut up.
Well, no. I agree with you that in 1978 or 81, a guy walks out of his car with a mask on. That's creepy. Last year, guy walks out with a mask on. That's encouraging,
that is so goddamn funny. Oh my god! All
right. But yeah, you're right. I was thinking about that, laughing, going, "Wow, he's got a mask on. He's driving oh shit, I saw that like so many times in the last 2 years that's not weird anymore.
No.
He was a pioneer.
And by the way, I cannot watch Rescue 911 without being scared shitless anymore because, you know, Shatner walks in to tell you what's going to happen on the show and it's like, there he is. It's Michael Myers. Holy crap. He's on Rescue 911 dispatching fire trucks.
I think I need a fire truck down the street if I could. All right. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's not a sophisticated movie in terms of plot. Like I still don't know why. Again, Jay just said a moment ago, why are we targeting Laurie? Well, but when the movie comes out, there's no connection that she's his sister. Sorry, I can never get that right. She's his sister, but the fact that they were there in the wrong place at the wrong time and I'm going to get them is enough.
Yeah, I think you honed in on them.
Yep.
Like,
that was just
you walked up to my door. You look good enough. I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take that challenge. I'll kill the two of you because he doesn't just follow her. He follows him.
Yep.
At one point,
Yep.
you know, he's and the kid, by the way, oblivious. He's got this car just creeping along right next to him, and he's like, doo, just not even looking left. It's like, but he's only what? 8?
Yeah, I know.
I think, well, two things. Well, first off, Chris mentioned something, and I wasn't thinking about that till, again, I'm glad you said that. It's funny. You're right. He brings it from this outskirt kind of area, like out wide, and he focuses in. And now I'm thinking about the last scene with the closet. And is that not like where everyone goes to hide, right? I mean, like when you think about where am I going to hide, doesn't people go right to the closet? So it's like, that's pretty cool. I never thought of that. And he does the same thing in other Halloween films. Carpenter seems to do that, bring you out wide and then focus you in. And now we're going to be in this area where it's very small. Yep. There's no running away. I finally got you kind of thing. And pretty interesting. I didn't really think of it.
If you look at the opening shots too, when they're walking down, first of all, Haddonfield seems to be empty all the time. Have you noticed there's no one around ever? Like there's no one ever on the street. There's no one ever driving cars. But a lot of those shots are, they're and I'm not saying, I read this in the book, and it's Panaglide shots. So they're walking with them down the street a distance away to give you an idea of the scope of the town. And like Laurie walks down the street and a little boy like runs this way out from the distance. So it's way out and then it brings you way in. So it's supposed to make you feel claustrophobic as he's getting tighter and tighter. You know, oh, he's 150 miles. Yeah, he's 150 miles away. Oh, wait, now he's at a truck stop. Oh, wait, now I saw him in town. Oh, wait, now we saw him at the house. Oh, wait, now he's at my house. Oh, wait, he's in my house. Oh, wait, he's in the closet. Stab. And that's the end of the movie.
By the way, though,
yeah,
she, like, as smart as she's resourceful and smart and then dumb. Like, for instance, she's smart enough to hold a knitting needle and stab him. And she also pokes him in the eye with the hanger from the closet.
Yep.
Each time she gets the knife, she goes, he's dead. I'll drop the knife. She's like, stop dropping the knife.
I know. Take the knife.
Hold on to it.
Yep.
Stop giving back his weapon.
Yep.
You know, he hasn't died yet.
But that's one of those things like
we wouldn't have the film.
That's the stuff
that.
I know. And what I'm saying is like, so many people have stolen from this movie for that very thing. Why is she falling down and not running? Why do they assume he's dead? But Halloween did it first, and they did it pretty well, right? Because no one had seen
what
somebody
else was phenomenal?
Get stabbed and get back up. Or, that shot when the mask comes out of the darkness. Holy
Thank you.
Jesus. Oh, my God.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
That was filmed so perfectly.
Yep.
It's just enough light to show him right behind her. Just it appeared. It was so good.
Yeah. Again, he's supernatural. He's sort of supernatural.
You know, you were talking earlier about the music, and so I actually have another funny story. Is that growing up, I used to watch Halloween every year on this channel 27 out of Worcester, and they decided to go Spanish. But they didn't drop the tradition of playing Halloween, except they did it in Spanish. So I used to watch it in Spanish. And even in Spanish, I didn't know what the hell they were saying. They're like, "Donde está de Michael Myers?" You know, I'm like, what? And then, but the music would come on, and I'd be scared shitless, and I didn't even know what they were saying. I'd be like, "Vamonos, vamonos, move, quick!" So yeah, it doesn't matter what language it's in. Halloween is scary no matter what the language.
Certainly.
It is just it's the music and everything. It doesn't matter what they're saying. Yeah.
How many? I got a question for Jay and Steve. How many times have you gone into a cemetery, stolen an entire headstone, and moved it somewhere else, and no one saw you? I really like struggling. I don't care how.
Well, that's why he has the station wagon.
Oh, that's right. He popped in the back of the station
That's
wagon.
why he had a station. Yeah.
He's going to.
Yeah.
He's going to the groundskeeper. You guys got a dolly or something? I can put this headstone in. Like, how do you not notice? How do you not notice?
Creepy. How creepy is just that scene where Laurie discovers that she's in deep shit by seeing her friend.
It was
lying
Judith
on a
Myers' headstone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
dead with a real headstone like right above it. That's just that's like, with just candles in the room. That's creepy.
He's he's
Really,
good at Art
really
Deco.
done well.
He's good at interior decorating. He's going for a theme. He's going for a style. So we're gonna put Judith right in the bed here, and then we're gonna have it tied up. And
Once again,
like,
he's an artist.
He's an artist. He's got he takes pride in his work. And really, that's all we want these days. Is
And a multitasker.
absolutely multitasker.
Yeah.
He's a multitasker.
While I'm killing the town, I'm going to go get a tombstone. But before I do any of that, I have to stop at the hardware store because they have a killer starter kit that they just slashed the prices down on. So I'm going to get my killer starter kit at the Ace Hardware, Haddonfield Hardware, and I'm going to pull up in this shit brown huge station wagon with the psych ward label right on the side. We're good.
By the way,
yeah.
I think there's a problem with the timeline on that because they, Laurie and Annie are driving up, basically heading towards babysitting. The alarm is blaring in this store as if it just gotten broken into, and he got supposedly masks, a knife, and all that. Yet he's been driving around all day with this mask on. When was the? You know what I mean? Like that was kind of bad timing on the writing, I think. I
got a couple of things. Yeah, I agree. I got a couple of things on the hardware store. If he knocks over the hardware store for a mask that he already had on, maybe he's a time traveler. But they also say that he stole a bunch of knives. I don't know that you get a lot of kitchen knives at the hardware store. I'm just saying. And then secondly, if he did steal a bunch of knives, why is he strangling everyone until the end? He strangles everybody, including a dog, which good for this movie for willing to push the envelope of killing a dog on screen. Not that I want to see dogs die, but I mean, he strangles everybody. He uses a knife once and then tries to a second time. Right? Why did he steal all the knives? Where are the knives? I just want to know where the knives are. Because if he kept the receipt, he can go get his money back. He didn't use them. He's not true. He's not very bright. Yes. He just got my money back. I never killed these people.
Yeah.
And here's your
mask.
Well,
you can't keep a receipt if you stole everything.
Jay. He could return. No,
that is true.
Now wait a minute. No, he could return them and say, "I lost my receipt. I'd like some store credit, please." That's what he could say.
A store credit, yes.
He gets money anyway. So he stole knives, but some cash.
That bastard.
No, it's just
and as long as he's wearing his mask in the store, he's all set. He meets the COVID requirements. He's all set.
By the way, I have to also say
6 feet apart. That's the length of one dead body in between you and me. All right, what?
I know the 70s and 80s were very bad about casting teens. Annie, my God, she looks like she's about 35 years old.
I have that
and
as a note.
Matches.
I have their Yep. Yeah, I have that as a note. They look like they're about 30.
But I would say Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis looks a little old too, though.
Well,
wouldn't you say?
It's also her voice.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Maybe she has that older look to her. Yeah.
It's not just.
You're
her
right.
look.
Her voice is like a
very
deeper.
deep, so that really makes her even more mature. But it's just
But on
funny.
the other side of
and
it-
by the way, why would you hang out with this Annie girl that like just seems to have nothing but negative shit to say about you? But yet, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Some friend.
Great shit though.
But they also made her to look matronly because she's obviously not socially aware yet. Like her friends are like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my boyfriend and we're gonna fornicate and so on and so forth, and we're gonna drink beer.
And then
and
she
she's
wants
like, well,
to take back the invite
Would
to be with Ben Tramer tomorrow.
Right. And
take
like,
that
but
back.
I got to get my books. But they put her in a skirt. They put her in a very like with leggings, like a longer skirt with leggings, and they put her in a sweater. And man, when she carves the pumpkins with those kids, she's wearing that grandma apron. Everyone noticed that? Like my grandmother at 90 had that apron. Like I don't know what the deal is. So they're trying to make her matronly and sanctimonious because that's the only person that's going to be able to defeat evil because she's so,
Innocent.
Maybe I'm reading too much into that. But yeah, I mean, I have that as a note. They look like they're about 30.
Well, so a couple of things is that I was again doing some research on the film, and they were talking about how it was kind of known in a lot of these horror films, especially in the 80s, that if you got laid, you were getting killed. That's just how it worked. The people that had the sex, they got killed right after. It was like that in a lot of films, and then the whole thing with the candy and the sex. So all of these teenagers, the parents aren't home, they're all babysitting, and while they're babysitting, they're all getting laid. And I thought, I'm like, geez, all right, there's a theme right there. And it was funny. I thought of this time a few years ago. I had to go to UMass, and I'm older, and they had like this health day, and this girl, and she was good looking, probably 21 or something. She comes up, she goes, candy and a condom, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, I was just taken back. Like, is that what this school is all about? Is that what happens here? Like, and I wanted to say, well, if you saw my thing, you would snicker. So, I just, I was just like, I'm like, wow. So sex and candy is a theme, I guess. No matter where you are, whatever. I don't. It's it came full circle to me. So yeah, no, it's as I'm watching this movie again, I'm thinking of that story, thinking, wow, that's pretty funny.
Oh, what was the
What do you think? Final judgment, guys?
I would say so. I think it's time.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final Judgment.
All right, yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. It's it's one of those things you could go on forever. I mean, but it's a good film.
All right.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say is that, and this could be like, obviously, there's more Halloween films that you could do. I would say this. I think they kill a lot more random people as you go on in the Halloween series.
Sure.
I think there's a lot more murders, and it's like random, like he's killing all kinds of people. This one was more kind of focused on who he killed, and I think like in 2 and in others, he's just killing everywhere.
Well,
he's killing anyone, everywhere, at all ages.
Well, that's why this stands out, I think, better in many ways, as far as what people perceive it as, because it's more thoughtful. It's where the other, it's like mindless droning killing. Because people in the 80s, when the slasher name actually became the term became popular, they were caring more about body count.
Right.
So I think that's it just once it started to lean in that direction. But I think that's pretty much why. But this one's just more in that sense cerebral, like they're focused on the couple of people and scaring the shit out of you. So what you want me to give it a start?
Sure.
And
all right, so
we'll go from there.
All right, so now is the time that we're going to come to final judgment, like our opinion matters. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
We talked about that last week. Like, it doesn't matter. So anyway, we're going to start, and I think we'll go J, Steve, me, if that's okay. So Jason,
all right,
take the helm. What do you think? Does this movie 1978/1981, does it hold up in 2021?
I would say absolutely, because of it's what they said, this it started it all, it set the tone, and I think the music alone could get almost anybody to be creeped out, like even if they wouldn't be necessarily into the older film style. So they hear that, they see, and it's acted very well. I think there's so much of that. This film that does hold up because of those things. So I'm going to say absolutely does for that. On a personal note, I am of the mindset that I do love, no matter, they could keep coming out with them forever. And I'd be like, bring it on. I love it. Like, I don't care if the guy's blown up in the last film. Find a way to either ignore that or piece them together. I don't care. Bring them back. Because it just is, it brings me back. It may not be as good. It never will be. And I know that, but I'm okay with that. So I say bring it every time. Some people are like, wow, oh my God, this guy's been around for 20, 30 years. Who cares? We like it. That's why it's the same reason people keep flocking every time there's a Fast and Furious movie. They're coming upon Fast and Furious, what, 9?
9.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And people are, it's going to make a ton because it fits into a category that brings people back, like whatever that may be. It's like, I always joke about that movie on the side. It's a side note, but like it's an example of why it's okay that these are ridiculous. I know that they're ridiculous. But like, so that being said, with the Fast and Furious movie, I'll say if they in the movie could find a way to launch a car from New England to actual England and land it safely, we'd all go, yeah, do it again. You know what I mean? Because it's okay.
Aren't we kind of waiting for like Fast and the Furious in space? Like, aren't you waiting for them to like have spaceships?
Sure.
And have it be family somehow.
I say it can never do wrong, in my opinion. Even if the movie sucks, all right, fine, that one wasn't that good. Give me another one. Make up for it next one. That's if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So, I'm not going to elaborate too much more other than absolutely does. Steve?
Mr. Lavoie.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say that obviously we're dealing with a guy who's always in his mask on. He's always looking weird. I mean, I think anyone would pick him out of a crowd to be like, who the hell is that? And but he was always walking so slow, yet he's there before anyone else. And so that stuff is totally ridiculous. However, do people murder people? Are there psychopaths? Can this happen? There's an element that it can happen. I think any horror film, there is that element that this could happen, and I think there's that realism. So I think that horror films tend to stand the test of time. I think they do, and I think that the fact that Rob Zombie redid the film in 2007, I think that's another fact that it still stands the test of time, and they could redo it again. In fact, I think the latest one was only a few years ago. I think they had one right in 2018.
Yeah, I saw it.
I believe,
and they're doing it again.
So we keep seeing them. Yeah, and so I think that it speaks for itself, And then one thing I will say is there's a little comedy to it. So like in there are some funny parts. It's not just all oh my God, it's suspenseful. Like the part where Bob, the boyfriend there, he's about to get laid. She's waiting for him in bed. Michael kills him, puts the sheet over his head like a ghost, but puts Bob's glasses on and stands in the doorway. And she's like, Bob, are you coming to bed? Here I am, and he's just like looking at her with Bob's glasses on. That was kind of funny. I mean, you had to start chuckling because it's like, oh my God, it's like he's almost playing with her. So yeah, I think it's just one of those films that it will stand the test of time. Absolutely, I agree with you, Jay. Chris?
So here's where I would say, yeah, it stands the test of time. Mainly for a point that I said before. I think that it's a good horror movie starter pack. I think it's just enough. It's very, like we said a couple of times, it's all atmospheric. It's all gets at things that make you feel viscerally scared and claustrophobic. I think Carpenter nails that. I think because of that, you don't care about the logic loopholes. You don't care about maybe some missing plot points You're in it to win it. I think there isn't a lot of body count because we don't care about the body count. We care about being scared. Like body counts are exciting, but that's the problem with like Freddy. Freddy went from like low body count to high body count and jokes. And then at that point, Freddy was like, whatever. And then Jason became low body count to like more body count to how creative can we kill people. And while that's thrilling and all, if you're into that, this movie, it takes its time. And so you can watch it as a young person. And while, it's disturbing and maybe, I'm not advocating as a good dad, I think 5-year-olds should watch Halloween. Well, what I am saying is it's a good starter pack to get into movies, and it's still scary. And I'm gonna say with this thing, unabashed Carpenter fan, he can almost do no wrong in my case. But I went into this movie not having seen it in a while, going, oh man, I kind of don't like movies from the 70s. They kind of look old. They kind of feel old, and I don't know that I like them that much. Like some movies that just, even if it was made in '81, they're like, God, this movie looks ancient. I gotta tell you, I watched it. And I didn't think it was, except for the wardrobe and the cars, it didn't really feel that old to me. Now that I saw it again, I was expecting to not like it. I was expecting to have to try to like it because I don't want to give up on John Carpenter, right? But I'll call a spade a spade. I don't care. Like, if I don't, it's crap, it's crap. But, boy, I was it didn't feel as old as I thought it was going to feel. So that, to me, is an indicator that it stands up, and maybe it's a nice break from high body count, super gore, like torture porn, like all that stuff. Maybe it's just what, guys? It's just a nice movie. It's just a nice movie about this nice man who's a little confused, and he just goes in and kills people. It's fine. It's fine. Have a coffee. It's fine. That was my Linda Richmond from.
Well,
Saturday Night
it's
Live.
funny.
Who was played by Michael Myers,
It's funny
right?
you say that.
Deep dive. Very nice.
Wow. Nice job, Jay. Pulling that one out.
Downtown. Wow. Yes. And the wig stays on.
Deep from downtown. Yes. But I will say, funny you say that though about a starter pack. Like other than the killing, we'll take that out. Not a lot of swearing.
Nope.
You had a couple of breast scenes, but other than that, it wasn't. I mean, I don't even think they dropped the F-bomb at all. There's that one scene where they're smoking pot, a little bit of beer drinking, but other than that, it's a pretty clean movie.
I mean, anytime a woman undresses in a Halloween movie or a horror movie, it's exploitative just by definition. But it wasn't like egregiously exploitative, like seductive and like touching themselves and all. It was just like they're there and it's over. You know what I mean? Like it's a sex scene.
Well, you know what?
They're the boobs and they're gone, and it's fine.
Speaking of over,
Yep.
I think that guy at the beginning, he was over in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, about that. Yep. Yeah. No, that was the one with
he
the
goes
phone
upstairs.
call.
Yeah, he was
the lights,
quick. Yeah, he was
the lights
quick.
go out. Michael goes and grabs the knife, goes to the stairs, and the guy's already zipping up and seeing like bye.
But we had
it's so
the
bad.
same thing happened with the boy who said he couldn't. The phone ringing was distracting him. So they're in the middle of sex. The phone says, "Can you just answer the phone?" Well, I can't do it now if the phone's ringing. So he takes the phone off the hook. He proceeds to mount her, and like you can count to 10, and then she's done, which is a miracle. She's done. He's done, and then I'm gonna go get a sandwich. Like literally, like on camera, 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
Like wow, and I'm
Well,
like,
it's
wow,
you know what that is.
score.
That's
Thank you,
well, that's like teenage, like the teenage trope of it was phenomenal. I think.
Yeah. Was that good? I'm not sure.
Well, funny you guys say that, and standing the test of time is one thing I also. It got to me watching the movie was the old-fashioned phones with the ring, that the actual bell ringing. Now, so remake that movie today, and someone's cell phone goes off, and it's J-Lo ringtone. I don't think it's as scary. There's something about that old-fashioned ringing phone that really makes it a lot scarier. Because every time someone called, I'm like, "Holy shit, who is it?"
Right.
Yeah, it was just different. I think that's like where that technology back in the day was kind of scary in itself.
Because us old farts remember, And even you remember before, I didn't get an answering machine for quite some time because who's calling us? But when that phone rang, you didn't know who was on the other end of that phone.
Right.
And when there was nobody on the end of that
caller
phone,
ID, yep.
and when there was nobody, you were in trouble because someone's just calling and not saying anything. That's terrifying. Like, that's terrifying. So, yeah, that's good stuff, man.
I think we've covered as much as we could within a respectable time frame because,
All right.
like, you know, like,
All right, so I'll wrap it up.
I say wrap it up. And
I think Jay's just cutting us short here.
I think so, yeah.
well, it says 127 now.
So, all right.
Right.
So,
Steve, I want to thank you so much for joining us. That was awesome.
yep. Thanks, Steve.
Another great episode
it was a
with
lot
Steve.
of fun, and so thank you very much for having me on again, and hopefully at some point I can come back.
That'd be great.
So thank you, I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks, Steve.
And if you want to get in touch with us, filmcrickets8099 at gmail.com, and we're on Facebook and Twitter.
Yep.
And
Make sure,
yeah,
and
that's
spread the word,
about it,
folks.
I think.
The more you spread the word, the more we can get bigger guests and get a bigger following, and who knows what happens after that. So
rate
and review,
review on Apple,
Yep,
please.
please rate and review on Apple and spread the good word and watch a good movie. You know, watch a movie. Give us a suggestion, maybe, of something. So,
All right.
But thanks, guys. Steve J, thank you very much. This is Chris. This has been the Film Crickets. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Film crickets, chirping about movies.